Okay, so I'm going to explain to you the basics behind time signatures. So time signatures outline how a piece is meant to be interpreted. On the music, you need to actually write a time signature so that the musicians will know how to play the song. And it doesn't refer to a style or a speed. It just refers to actually how many beats are in the bar and how it feels, where the pulse feels like it sits. So you might know that a waltz has 3 beats in the bar, or in this tune we're doing Hallelujah, we've got 6 beats in the bar, which is kind of like a waltz, but it feels like it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like a resolution every 6 counts, but it also feels resolved every 3 counts, but like a bigger overall resolution every 6 counts. Whereas some tunes are in 4 or 5 or... Anyway, so in this lesson, what I want to do is just explain to you how the time signature at the start of the piece works. So you might see this, a piece that's in 4/4. This is the most common time signature that I tend to see. You could also have 3/4 or 6/8 or 12/8. Anyway, you'll understand what all of those mean in just a second. But let's first look at what notes exist in music. Now, for those of you who haven't attacked this yet, it doesn't really matter. We'll just race over it and we'll go through it in more detail in more lessons. But let's look at this note first. So this is a whole note. We're going to use the American system of note naming more so than the English system which I grew up on. And it's because, quite frankly, the English system is crazy. In fact, I'll just tell you both for the hell of it, but you're going to see that definitely the American system seems to make sense. I don't know if it's actually an American system or not, but I should probably have done the research once again before stepping in front of the camera. Anyway, so here we go. The first thing we'll attack is a whole note, and this is worth 4 beats. So in the Australian system over here, I'll just say over here in Australia, we call them semibreves as opposed to whole notes. Anyway, moving on, the next one down is worth half of that, and it's worth 2 beats, and we call it a half note. We're going to be calling it a half note. I used to call it a minim, and still have to call it a minim every now and again, but yeah, that's a half note. Now the next one down is a quarter note, or in America a quarter note, and they're worth 1 beat. In Australia we call them crotchets. Okay, so moving down again to the next one down, we have what they call an 8th note, and it takes up 1/8 of a bar in 4/4. That's the reason it's called an 8th note. And in Australia, we call them crotchets. No, we don't. We call them quavers. It's been a long day of recording. We call them quavers. Anyway, if we were to continue, we'll just worry about that for the moment. If we were to continue down the English system, from there, after quavers, we have semiquavers, then demi-semiquavers, then semi-demi, semi-demi-semiquavers. I'm not even joking here. Then hemi-semi-demi-semiquavers, then semi-hemi-semi-demi-semiquavers. Look this stuff on Wiki. I'm not joking you. It's that crazy. Anyway, so the English system, let's go back to that. The American system. With those notes, that whole note takes up a whole bar in 4/4 time. So a whole bar. Then the second note down takes up a half a bar. The next note down, the quarter note, takes up 1/4 of the bar, whereas the next one down, the 8th note, takes up 1/8 of the bar. The next one down will take up 1/16 of the bar, then 1/32 of the bar, And, they just call that a 30-second note, which makes a lot more sense to me, and we'll stick with that. Anyway, how onto these notes, let's represent them as fractions for a moment. So your whole note, we could represent as 1 on 1. It's just a whole, it's just one unit. Whereas a half note represented as a fraction would be 1 on 2, right? Whereas a quarter note would be 1 on 4, and eighth note would be 1 on 8. So as a fraction, that makes sense. Now you're starting to see that this is kind of starting to look a little bit like our time signature, right? So let's think about this 4/4, which is the most common time signature. I said that the 4/4 has 4 beats in it. Now, if we look at that fraction 4/4 for our time signature and break it up into a little sum, we could think of it as 4 times 1/4, right? Or 4 quarter notes go into that bar. So if we had a time signature, say 3/4 time, which is a waltz time, it has 3 beats in the bar, we could think of that as 3 times 1/4 notes, which would be 3/4 time. Let's do a trickier one. What about 3/2? So 3/2 could be 3 lots of half notes in the bar. So every bar would have 3 half notes in it. Hallelujah, the tune that we've been working on, is in 6/8, and it has 6 lots of eighth notes in it. So I hope that makes sense. And we would count that, instead of counting half, 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 we just would count to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 6, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in every bar, there would be equal to 6 lots of eighth notes. Anyway, so that's the basics of time signatures. We're going to dive into this more down the track. But I hope that makes a lot of sense to you now, and you understand why these time signatures are written like they are. And hopefully it all will become increasingly more clear as we do more work on it down the track. But I just wanted to give you an overview today of that, and really just rally up people over to the American side of doing things. And I'm trying to kick this system out of our country of hemi, semi, demi, semi, remi, memi, semiquavers, because it needs to go. Anyway, that's my rant. I'll see you in the next video lesson.